Hello again. I'm Deacon Sharon Rice, youth pastor at First United Methodist Church of Belvedere and a member of the Discipleship Task Force for the Northern Illinois Conference. So 6 months ago, the Discipleship Task Force introduced the first pair of videos about growing and strengthening discipleship ministries with a particular focus on youth. This month's video marks the last of that series and offers some good advice for going forward based on experience that many of us gained this past year. March marks the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, when our churches and church activities had to be put on pause, and when many of us had to quickly learn how to do church differently from how we had done it in the past, including youth ministry. Now, it was difficult, and it's still difficult, and yet, despite the isolation many of us found ourselves in, there was also an effort for strengthening our connections. And that's the theme for this final month, knowing that you're not alone, even when you are alone. Now, before I get into sharing our resources for this month, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to check out the companion video by Erica Davis, who serves as the youth minister at St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Chicago. She's very passionate about helping young people know that they are not alone with Christ or the church, and she shares that passion in her video. When we hear the word disciple, we automatically think of the followers of Jesus, and we remember there wasn't simply one disciple, but many. And when Jesus sent them out, they were instructed to go in pairs. So when we talk about growing and strengthening disciples, we must remember the importance of connection with Jesus and one another. So the first resource I recommend is a fairly popular book, and it's been used by many church leaders, Canoeing the Mountains by Todd Bolsinger. Now, while not specific to youth ministry, I feel it's important to our theme of remembering that you're not alone, especially during unexpected and difficult times. Readers are encouraged to not only examine and evaluate how they lead, but they're also challenged to reimagine those leadership skills when changes, both foreseen and unforeseen, take place. Now, this is a great book for leadership teams to read and discuss together, from pastors to lay leaders to volunteers. And it also reminds all members of church leadership of that connection we have with one another and how we're all linked together as disciples of Jesus Christ, all people and all ministries. The second resource I recommend is Love Wins by Rob Bell. Now, many people, including youth, have had to deal with feelings of isolation, but those feelings were enhanced during the pandemic. How do we find ourselves in the larger picture when it feels like we're lost in our own corner of the world? Bell's book wasn't written during the pandemic, but it fits and reminds us that it doesn't take a pandemic for youth, as well as leaders, to feel cut off and uncertain about where we fit in or if we fit in. And while we as leaders work hard to strengthen our connections with the people we minister, so too are we reminded of the importance of strengthening our spiritual connections and helping youth grow and connect with God, who is indeed with them even when they feel alone. Now, there are two versions of Love Wins. There's the original, which has a black cover, and there's this one that's for teens version, which is geared slightly more for the teen reader. They're both wonderful, but this is a good one, especially if you want to have youth read the book, the for teens version. So I recommend that. The last book I want to mention is Soul Tending, Life-Forming Practices for Older Youth and Young Adults. Now, it's been a while since I recommended a book from Kenda Creasy Dean, but it's only appropriate to close out this video series with something connected to her, as well as because this serves actually as the companion piece to the God-Bearing Life, which was recommended in our first video, and you can check that out in the archive. Dean and Ron Foster offer the foreword to this book, which consists of articles, essays, and devotions by many others who have a passion for spiritual formation and discipleship ministries with young people. It encourages holy habits and practices that a group can engage together, either as part of a covenant small group or during a special seasonal time, such as Advent or Lent. And it can be adapted for in-person or virtual gathering. But ultimately, it's about strengthening and building connection on the discipleship journey, just like the first disciples. So I recommend that book as well. And finally, I want to share a curriculum resource. Now, last month, I talked about the United Methodist Confirmation Curriculum, Confirm. And I also talked about how confirmation is part of our discipleship journey. Affirm is a follow-up companion curriculum for youth after confirmation. Now, confirmation is indeed a milestone in the faith life of our youth, but it certainly is not a graduation ceremony, and Affirm understands that. And it's meant to be used as the next step on this journey of Christian discipleship, taking some of the basic lessons students learn from confirmation class and helping youth deepen and further develop their faith through discussion and sharing of beliefs and discovering practices that will help them strengthen the Christian connection with God, church, and the world beyond. Sessions are divided into 6-week increments and can be used for Sunday school or another small group setting. And like Confirm, it also includes a leader book, student journal, parent and mentor guide, and DVD. And even if you use a completely different curriculum for confirmation, you can still use Affirm. And if you've ever encountered a student who's asked, when will I use this in real life? Well, here's a chance to answer that question. Or better yet, a chance to help youth them answer that question for themselves. For more information about any of these resources, please be sure to check out the links provided in the e-news article, as well as check out the archive if you missed any of our previous videos and resources. I truly hope that these videos have been helpful, whether you're a seasoned youth worker or someone who's hoping to get something started. I pray that despite the challenges ahead, you remember that you are not alone, even when sometimes it seems that you are. And I also pray that should you find yourself in a situation where you're not sure what to do or where to begin, reach out. Reach out to us at the Discipleship Task Force, as well as your fellow youth workers, which leads me to a big announcement. On Saturday, May 1st, from 9 to 11:30 a.m., the Discipleship Task Force is sponsoring a virtual Youth Leaders Symposium for all clergy and laity that work with youth and have a passion for youth ministry. The purpose of this gathering is to build connections with fellow youth leaders around our annual conference so that we can network and support one another in our ministry of making and strengthening young disciples. More information about the symposium is on the way, including registration, info about our keynote speaker, Reverend Dr. Heather Lear, as well as a special contest where youth groups and their leaders can compete with other groups around the conference. So be on the lookout for more information coming through the Reporter, e-news, our conference social media, and your good old church mailbox. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your participation, and may the peace of Christ be with you and in your work as a disciple. Thanks, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.